you talked about how it was narcissistic to name a company after yourself, and she has a lyric that's like, never trust a narcissist.
But we do trust Ashby, otherwise she wouldn't be here. Just to be really clear. Let's actually dive in.
Coming up on this episode of Raise.
But the aim is for us, me individually, and I think a lot of my team, because they are all ex-fundraisers, is to support someone through their career from the very beginning to the very end. Soft referencing is so much bigger than anyone realises.
Oh my gosh.
And to give that feedback is nice. And it's not necessary.
No,
but
it
good.
matters.
Yeah, it's really trying to avoid that, like, oh, everything's great and it's amazing and and it's fine, but it's not fine.
No.
It's not okay.
Hello and welcome to Raise. This is the podcast for fundraisers by fundraisers, where we talk about insights and strategy, professional development, and we make space for those crunchy conversations that you just want to have outside of the office. So let's imagine that we are sitting around a pub and that you have a glass of whatever it is that you fancy. And let's have those amazing conversations. I'm Christine Newbiser.
And I'm Sian Wilkinson-Alls, and today we are joined by Ashby Jenkins.
Hi, I'm Ashby of Ashby Jenkins Recruitment. I always do the same joke, which is that it's narcissistic to name a business after yourself, but I did it anyway. And we are charity sector specialists recruiting across fundraising, marcoms and operations roles. I myself am an ex-fundraiser, current CEO, recruiter and a trustee at the moment.
Oh, very nice.
Multi-talented.
Should we cheers?
Before we jump in, let's cheers.
Oh, here we go. So cheers to raising money, voices and glasses.
Money,
Cheers.
voices and glasses. Cheers.
I got you.
Oh.
And today we're drinking Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes, a request by Ashby.
Yes, I do. I would say my normal drink is straight gin with 3 ice cubes, but I thought if I suggested that, you would think I had.
I was going to say, I thought when we've been out drinking before, you've been a rosé girl.
To be honest, I'll drink anything. I think that's
Just like equal opportunity wine drinker.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 7 years into running a business right now. Like,
You're like,
There's
just
some
give
really
me whatever
challenging
it is.
times, right?
yeah, exactly.
So Ashby, I feel like the world of recruiters is something that if you get it right, you get it really, really right.
Yeah.
And so many people haven't quite cracked it. And it's like, oh, this random person reached out to me with a job and I'm like, it's not right, or I'm really interested. And like, they haven't quite kind of like perfected that two-way relationship. So from your point of view, like, I guess for the first question is, what can we be doing better as fundraisers to work with you?
Well.
It's a big question.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said like, oh,
Just dive
come
straight
on,
in.
it'll be fun, drink some wine. I think as with any of like your suppliers or relationship, it is a relationship. So managing and understanding, particularly from a candidate perspective, you don't pay for the service with recruiters. It's for free service to candidates. So if you're looking for a job, you don't need to charm the recruiter, but there is a relationship building element of it. And, I think, and obviously with the right recruiter, some people come in too hard, or, there's a lot of big agencies that don't understand the charity sector or don't have the passion for it. But if you're working with a recruiter that takes the time to speak to you on the phone, that takes the time to understand your kind of needs, that listens to you actively, then I think you have to go in and make sure you look after that relationship. So for us, it's just about kind of that honesty, strong communication, everything you would give to a donor.
Yeah.
Update us, all of that kind of stuff. But people naturally have a prejudice towards recruiters. We don't have the best reputation in the world. Not all of us, some of us. But the aim is for us, me individually, and I think a lot of my team, because they are all ex-fundraisers, is to support someone through their career from the very beginning to the very end. This sounds doomed.
No, but that's exactly why we wanted to have you on the podcast, because it's the journey of your career development, working with a recruiter to do that well.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do that.
Yes, and I think, when I think about my relationships with you both, like Sian, we started years ago at BCN.
I want to say it's like 10 years ago. Yeah.
Do you remember our first conversation?
I think that was when you were at Leonard Cheshire and I was on a bus calling you, but is it different?
Yeah, well, you were working at TPP.
I was.
So I was going to say, you
yeah.
actually worked for me at Surida.
Oh.
So before
Really?
you, yeah.
Oh my god.
So like 2014.
I feel like with the...
I mean, I'm offended that you didn't remember the first 3 years of our relationship. The only reason I remember is, I don't know whether I should admit this or not, you had supported me with looking at some jobs and they hadn't quite been the right ones, and then I did find the right job. I moved to Alzheimer's Society and I quit. I remember emailing you being like, FYI, I've just quit, so if you want to dive in and see if you can lead on the recruitment for my replacement, now's a good time. And then I saw you at the Just Giving Awards a few weeks later. That's the only reason I remember.
That's so interesting, because the overarching memory I have of you is when we met in the Eat near...
Oh, yeah.
Near
And I was like, I hate my
Fenchurch.
job.
Yeah.
Eat. I literally was like, what did you just say?
Are they
then
closed down
Yeah,
now?
I don't think they exist anymore.
No.
Our
but I
relationship
do
has
remember
outlasted
them.
that.
Yeah, I like that.
There you go. We've outlasted a national food brand, so that's
What
really
more can you
exciting.
want?
Wow.
That's what I live for. That's what I live for.
The stories of legends.
And then so ours was, because I remember speaking to you when you were at Leonard Cheshire, but that was like, I mean, it's years.
I was like a trust officer.
Aww.
I think, honestly,
The
that you've seen us.
dizzying heights of now.
It's not,
But you
that
have, like,
Disney.
genuinely worked with both of us, like,
Yeah.
significantly throughout our
Yeah.
careers, and hired multiple members of our team for us as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think that is the key thing, is managing that relationship both ways. And I was thinking as I was getting ready and coming over here, and for you and I, Sian, the thing that I think sticks most strongly in my mind is, and it's quite poignant where the charity sector is currently, is when we worked together during COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think everyone was so raw, everyone was terrified. There were a complete lack of opportunities out there.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I called you and I was like, I think I'm going to lose my job and I don't know what to do. And you were like, yeah, a lot of people feel no, but like in in a really nice way. You were like, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Basically. That was the sentiment. But
It is, and I think that's the thing, is our job now and our job in times of hardship. I don't know whether this is generally recruiters or whether it's just because it's one of my values as a person, and because I've attracted a team that holds similar values to myself, is if you look after people when they are most weak and they are most scared, then people will look after you in the long run. And I think, in terms of where we were at, Sian, in COVID, and you were about to go out and recruit for your team, and the person that we recruited had been through the absolute ringer, really broken in confidence. We'd had really kind of open conversations with her, and that you passed us that job at that time and relied on us to recruit was really touching, because it was a tough period. And I think it's nice the way that relationships evolve, and it's difficult. We're humans, right? So you get busy, you don't see each other for a while, you come back in, things like that. But
it's also nice when you build a relationship to know that you can. Part of building a relationship is knowing there's strength in being able to touch in and touch out.
Yeah.
And that that's okay, because you don't have to be like, oh, I haven't messaged in 3 months. She's never going to talk to me again.
Yeah. And I think as well, for me, especially when I work with recruiters, my candidate experience is really, really crucial to who I then work with when I'm recruiting.
Yeah.
Because I know, when I've applied for jobs and, you've kind of recruited me for roles, I've had a solid brief. It's been really clear on what the expectations are. I know what the process is. When I've had feedback, it's been really clear. But, you've been kind the whole way through. And I know how I felt as a candidate with you. And so I know, when I work with you, I'm going to get candidates who've had that really, really similar experience. And I really want candidates who have support behind them, because interviewing is hard.
Yeah.
Again, it's scary and you have to put yourself out there. And I genuinely think, interviewing is antiquated as a process.
It's not the best way of hiring people.
Recruitment. But, I know that they've had an amazing experience with you and you've prepped them well to go into that space.
Yeah.
But I also think one of the things that immediately, one of the first times we really, really worked together in a job, and I performed so poorly in this in this interview process. Like, it is all on me. Like, I knew it. I walked out and I was like, that was awful. I like leaned to the side. Like, it was not.
I remember you telling me this right now. I feel like I'm leaning to the side. But yeah.
It was not good on me. But I remember like meeting you at this like coffee shop before, and I was talking about how like I wanted to move, and I was like starting to look at options and what that was going to look like. And you were like, well, we want to work with candidates from whatever point they are in their career through to the very end stage of their career and everything you do in between. And I was like, oh, that's the first time. I know you said at the beginning of this podcast, but it was like the first time that somebody ever said that. And so even if you haven't had like the job that I'm going to go for, like there's been such an honest like communication of being like, I'm thinking of going for this role. Like, what do you think? What do you like know? And you're like, you're always so professionally candid.
Yeah.
And it makes a really big difference for then wanting to refer people to work with you, like, or to introduce people, and it just makes it feel so inclusive.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special.
Yeah, I think, and for me, one of my biggest achievements throughout my 12 years of recruitment now is, should I say 12 years? It is 12 years. Even though I'm only 25. I don't know how I did
how
it.
could that be possible?
No, 'cause you and me are the same age, and I don't ever look at you and think, oh gosh, like, I really wish I'd done, like, Ashby's, like, smashed her career, and
Well, you know, I think it's...
You're both younger than me.
It's it's a challenge. I lost my train of thought there. What were we going to say? What was I going to say?
Sorry.
Oh, my proudest achievement. No, that's fine. Was getting invited to one of my candidates' weddings.
oh,
No.
Literally, like, one of my proudest achievements. And she was like, oh, I'd worked with her a couple of times on her roles. And I always say to my team, like, people can have their view of what recruitment is, but I genuinely believe that we change people's lives.
You
Like,
do.
we help them with the confidence building. We help them get the job that gives them the pay rise that they can secure a house with, or buy an engagement ring with, and
Yeah.
progress their lives. And so being invited to that, of all the other things, running a company and all of that, that's my proudest achievement, because I felt like if someone does that for you, you've really made an impact on them, and that was a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was going to dive in with a story as well. I was like, I
Do it.
remember last year, so you'd invite me to your birthday and I can come, and I texted you and I was like, oh, just let you know, my dad's in hospice, like, this is kind of what's going on. And you sent me like the sweetest care package. And I think for like me, I was like, oh, like that just, I cried. I was like, oh, like, I just feel, but it was like the sweetest, nicest gesture, and it just felt like, I felt seen and valued and like cared for in that space. And I was like, it's not about like how we're going to work together in the future, but it just, in that moment, it just felt like I see you. And I think that's really,
very human.
really important.
Yeah, that's exactly it. As human, like, you're a person that I have enjoyed spending time with, that I've seen you progress your career, and that is a very traumatic experience. Why wouldn't I? That's,
Yeah, and even like last year when we were like, we
I
wanted
was
to do
going
a
to say,
raise
you
away day.
were very instrumental to us starting Raise, because we sat in a meeting room in your office.
Yeah, and then we went out for many drinks.
Yes, that is a habit, and that was many wines, I think.
That was
different
many,
types
many
of wines.
But I was going to say as well, I think like one of the things that's really important for me is like, I think there's a candidate like experience that is down to us as well as fundraisers to work with you well, and I think that kind of comes in a couple of forms for me. Like, one is like feedback, so like, hey, thanks for sending me this job, but it's not right because salary's not high enough, or like,
Well,
this
it's
isn't
just
what I
not
want to do,
blinking the
or...
email or the LinkedIn message or however it comes, like just responding.
Yeah.
'Cause I think so many people are like, no, and then they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the other thing is like, and you mentioned it right at the beginning, but like, how would you work with a donor? And I like really, really, really strongly believe in like, we should steward you in the same way we would do a donor. So when we're recruiting and I come to you and say, like, we need a candidate, what I also need is that you are really clear on our charity mission, like our purpose, like that we're a great team, that this is how we work. And like, that comes from us inviting you to events and you hearing about the work that we're doing and really understanding like our charitable purpose and our goals. And like, that's on us as fundraisers to make sure that that connection is there with you too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it is. And I think what a lot of people don't realise is, well, that people know it's a small sector, like it really is. Yeah. Everyone is connected anyway. Recruiters know all of the gossip, all of the drama. But I think...
That's why we go out for drinks with you.
I know, exactly. You like try and tease it out of me. You'd have to go very far. We've been more than one bottle of wine.
I know. Also, I've never met better vaults than recruiters.
Yeah,
honestly.
you can't.
Like... I will have conversations. I'm like, please tell me. And they're like, nope, no. And I'm like, oh, God. And so I know there's something, but I can't know it.
Yeah, it is. You have to be so discreet, for us. But I think the one thing that a lot of candidates now are forgetting, and there's definitely been a shift in people's behaviours, is that it's so small, and is that everyone's connected, and particularly as you get to manager, head, director level.
Yeah.
The relationships with recruitment agencies, but also with hiring managers, is so vital.
Yeah.
So there was a stat at a conference I was at a couple of years ago, which is now 50% of job offers are rejected.
Really?
And that's either they're accepted and then they withdraw, or they just reject them outright.
Wow.
And that's a huge emotional cost for the hiring managers, and it's a financial cost if it's really late and you've already paid for their CRM license or their equipment, etc. So I think one of the things that we tried to communicate with candidates earlier this year is your behaviour, if you're pulling out of interviews last minute, if you're no-showing, if you're withdrawing from offers, or you're accepting an offer, continuing to interview, that does have an impact because the hiring managers know each other, and soft referencing is so much bigger than anyone realises.
Oh my gosh, the amount of texts you get of being like,
like I'm going to hire this person, or
what do you think? I'm thinking about offering to this person.
This person used to work with you, like, what do you, like... Yeah, immediately. As soon as you work, especially as soon as you work for a recognizable organization, I think a lot of people think that there's a lot of anonymity. So if you have like an assistant fundraising role at a big organization, they think there's a lot of anonymity there. There is not.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't exist.
Yeah, because everyone is so connected, and I think it might not have an immediate consequence. Like, you might not realise, why I've not been offered the role, or why I've not been offered an interview. But there's a longer term, like when you maybe hit a glass ceiling because people know your name, or know that you're not good at stewarding, or things like that. And you're right, like, fundraisers' jobs are to make people feel special and inspire them to give, for really just feeling good.
Yeah, we sell a good feeling.
We sell a good feeling. We talk about it all the time. Like, you're not selling.
I know, I picked it up from your podcast.
I'm glad you watched it. That was very high pitch.
Oh God, it was. I'm so sorry. It's like it's the wine.
We're only one glass in. Let's wait.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, you said, a good feeling, and I think there's something about building confidence and your like networking and your like public image across fundraising. Yeah.
Well, because recently you held an event, and you hold these relatively regularly.
Yeah.
And there's like, I wasn't able to go to the last one. I really wanted to go. It was literally like a topic that I was like, yes. But I think it goes to your ethos of candidate stewardship, client stewardship, like bringing the two together, and that whole thing about creating a career mentorship almost as part of it. So can you talk about like why you decided to do those types of events? And
because they're time consuming. You've worked on events before. I've been to some of your events.
You have mentioned
they were amazing, glamorous. It was lovely. They're time consuming, they're expensive. Like, even though we hold them in our office, we pay for that space. We obviously try and get canapes or little nibbles and things like that. And also they're stressful. Like, I don't hate public speaking, but like, I'm very rashy as a person. Like, I get nervous and I'm like, oh God. But I think we start, I love the sector. Like, I love the sector. I love what people do. Generally, people are very good and kind. And I think, like, spending that time where people can connect and there's no payment, no payment or kind of like expensive costs, because networking events can be really expensive, right? And training events and things like that.
And it's hard to get budget, like, right now, especially to go for something that isn't directly related to like your job.
Yeah. And so I think we did a couple of events before the pandemic, The pandemic, we switched really quickly into webinars. I would like to say we did it first. I would like to say it's my idea. I don't know. I think it was one of my teams, but that's one of the best things about leadership is you can just claim everyone else's successes. But we switched into webinars because people were really fearful, and I think we quietened down our events. We did a couple a year during the good years, 2022, 2023, and then we're now in a difficult time again, and people are scared, and vacancies are down 33%, and I'm working with great candidates. Every week someone's crying on the phone to us, like to myself or to my team members. It's an emotionally impactful job, and I think that's because we give a lot of ourselves to people. We're not just like, do you want a job? Yeah, I've got no job, hang up the phone. But we wanted to do those events to give people that safe space. And so actually this year we've also held loads of informal networking events where it's just coffee and cake. People come along and you can just talk to other heads or senior managers who are struggling with the same things. And it's like off the record, you don't have to be your best self. You can just be your authentic self.
Just be you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's giving back because I don't know, like we're in a position where we're so well connected as recruiters, so bringing people together, and the speakers that we get are really great, and that's a testament, I think, to our network and to our reputation. We had Louise Park from Gosh.
Amazing.
Yeah, our last event, like massive charity, like
huge,
really female in leadership. Like she shared a really interesting fact where it's like there's only 8 of the FTSE 250 organisations that are led by women. She's had to fight her way up. So, I think where we're in a position to do it, we should bring people together. That should be our job. And we do informal mentoring as well, where we partner people up. We help people from commercial sector come into the charity sector. We give kind of training and support around that. So
because it is very specific. Like my sister for a while worked in the charity sector, and she came in from the commercial sector, and it took her a year to get a job. Yeah, because it took a year to figure out how to translate that experience in a way that the charity sector would accept and understood. Yeah. Because for all of our chat about accessibility and inclusivity, we're very wary of the outside, even though that's what we need.
Yeah. One of the biggest struggles is getting people in from the commercial sector, and that's why we try and do a lot of blogs as well. Like we've featured Charlotte Mathieu from Alzheimer's talking about second careerers coming in. People that have had really successful careers that want to work in fundraising, that don't just want a wind down job, which I think is the perception that a lot of people have.
This is not a wind down.
Exactly.
We might whine.
But we don't whine.
We don't whine down.
There's several different types of whining. I hope we're going to do another one of the whining, maybe some dirty whining later. We'll go wild. But yeah, I think it's the sector, we all know that is not as like diverse and inclusive as we would like, and things have come a really long way since 2020, but there's still a lot further to go.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is we've talked so much about treating recruiters like donors. We've talked so much about the importance of working well with recruiters, how you and your company in particular has really kind of spearheaded that whole development side of things so much for people to be part of. But it's not working well with recruiters and knowing how to work with them is not something that's taught. It's not part of a development, it's not something you can go to at a conference or anything like that. But it's so critical to
your
career and developing your career. And if you kind of work with a recruiter from the very beginning, and I'm like a very big believer, if you're like, one day this is what I want to get to. And every time you make a move, if you have that honest conversation of like, well, in the end, this is where I'm trying to get. Does this move make sense or not? A good recruiter will tell you when it's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I always look for the ones that tell me no.
That's just because you love a challenge. You're like, okay, it's the fundraiser in you.
Well, yeah, that is. But there is something about
it. Like, actually, you're not quite what they're. We've had this conversation before for sure. Like, I've been like, oh, I've looked at this job, and you're like, actually, John, you're not what they're looking for. Like, and I don't want to waste your time. Yeah. So I'll send you some other stuff, but this isn't quite right for you. And like, it's the honest conversation.
And I think the challenge is that, again, and I don't want to be the like sad recruiter that's like, oh, we're so lambasted, but the challenge is that there's a narrative around like what recruitment is and what it means. And I think, and what has definitely come to the forefront, and it does at more challenging times, is recruiters start saying it as well. So you then hear, like I read a post a little while ago where it was like, if a recruiter asks you your current salary, don't work with them, they're trying to hold you back, blah, blah, blah. Which is completely illogical, because we get paid more the higher salary we negotiate for someone.
Yeah.
So why would we be like, oh, you're on 45? Well, just go for 42. Don't worry about it.
who
Don't
cares?
get a pay rise.
Who
Like,
needs 3K?
You know, so even looking at it on the most coldest analytics, it's, you know, that's illogical, but it really gained traction because people like to think that we're baddies and that we're doing it because we want to manage people down, where in fact, like, we can tell you whether you're underpaid, we can tell you what the market average is, you know, we have that information, and we can tell you, okay, yeah, you deserve more money than that, you're bringing in that much, you know, it's a question that's asked for a purpose, but I think the purpose has become so distorted that even recruiters don't know why they're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And how to use it effectively.
Yeah.
Too. Because to your point of like relationship building, if that candidate then is like, oh, I could use that to go back and negotiate something where I am, and we all know how stretched the sector is, so it's not always possible, because often they are actually trying to pay you the best that they can. But if the best that they can isn't what you need, that's also a thing.
Yeah.
And you need to know that. Yeah. So you know how to value yourself.
But I think that's the difference, right? Like, that's the difference between applying for a job straight with a charity, at which point maybe you wouldn't want to give your current salary because they are asking for it to benchmark, and then working with a recruiter and understanding why they might ask that question. It's that difference that's really key.
And for me, it's the trust with working with a recruiter. Like, I feel like when I've decided to work with somebody, I'm going to be way more frank and honest than I am in an interview process, because you're trying to get hired and put your best foot forward, and that's a little bit different. But you need somebody who is in your corner.
Yeah.
And whilst they're working for the client, like they're trying to bring the client the best person, they can't bring the client the best person if they don't know the whole story about you, because they don't know all the facets, or why you might perform or not perform, or what you need or what you really don't need, or if what you're looking for is the right thing. And also that sort of honesty of like, if you're changing certain circumstances, which means maybe you won't get all the jobs that you want in a certain space because something else is more important. But recruiters can, if you work with them correctly, can help you balance your expectations.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than a recruiter that, like, it's very easy. We could sit on the phone. It's a much easier conversation for us emotionally to sit on there and be like, you deserve a £15,000 pay rise. You should be the director of development. This is outrageous.
You're only an officer?
You're raising £100,000. You need a salary of £500,000. You know, it's a much easier conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when a recruiter does push back on you, they are humans as well. Like, you know, and I think within our sector, no one likes to tell someone, oh, I don't think you're quite ready for that yet. Like, and I listened to your episode with Emily Petty around being kind and, you know, rather than nice. And I think
It's so important.
Yeah, like, so a recruiter is constantly in the position, really 5 times a day, where they're having to be kind rather than nice, you know. And especially in the moment, something I'm saying to everyone that's looking for jobs is, this is really, other than kind of 6 months during COVID, an unprecedented market.
Yeah.
There are there's increased competition for roles, and actually, particularly at heads and directors level, you're in a market where there are so many people at head already looking for heads of roles, some directors stepping down because they can't get director roles, and you're trying to push up to their head level. It's incredibly hard, and for fundraisers specifically, where it's always been job rich, candidate short.
Right.
It's the first time that many people are looking and cannot secure a role, and that's not their fault. And you know, we're said about people crying. You know, that is the mentality that's driving it, because they feel like it's there's something they're doing wrong, and it is just the market now. And I think that's really important, which is the one thing I definitely want to say on here. It's really important to know that it's not your fault. It's just the way that the economy is at the moment and the sector is, and we will come through it.
Yeah, and we're seeing those stories like every day about like the amount of redundancies that are happening across the sector. And yeah, like it is just really tough, and I think like owning that and being honest about it is difficult, but at least honest.
Yes.
I'm doing a program with Fem Mentored, so I'm a mentor in this program, and we, the founders, who are these incredible women, have started like a whole specific group around like what can we as mentors do to support people who are going through redundancy or at risk of, or just searching for jobs. And it's really, I think it's really heartening. And I think this is the part of the reason why I think this sector is so incredible, because it really is about like coming together, and like, it's like you're not in it alone. It feels very lonely, and it feels really scary, and you feel sometimes really embarrassed that it's happening, or all sorts of emotions, but that it's not just you. Like there's people who are rallying for you to succeed.
Yeah.
And obviously that happens outside of just women, but obviously this is just a women-specific program that I'm in. Yeah.
It's kind of toxic positivity as well. Like it's really trying to avoid that. Like, oh, everything's great and it's amazing and and it's fine, but it's not fine. No, it's not okay.
And I think we need to have that conversation.
100%.
But this is where, when you build those relationships, you then create a space for those more honest conversations from the get-go, as opposed to like, then when it's a tough time to then have that honest conversation.
So the bit, I was going to say, so I feel like on doom and gloom, which I totally understand. I was going to say, the bit like I feel like we haven't touched on, so we've kind of touched on like working with you, you're working with us, but like when, because the kind of the bit that I've kind of worked with you on before as well is like how to build a team. So like how, like we've kind of, like obviously in better times, you're like, I'm building this new team, I've got these new roles. Like how, like do we work well with you when it's kind of like we want to do a culture step change, or they've got multiple roles that we want to recruit for, we're worried about how that might look out in the sector. Like what's the best way to work with a recruiter in that space?
Yeah, I think it's a history, or it's just very open conversation. So people will hide what the current team culture is, for example. So it might be, okay, oh, it's amazing, we're really all productive and super positive, and actually like there's a lot of like toxicity there or whatever. So it's that honesty with the recruiter. I think you should have someone that wants to come and see the office, and if you've got a couple of people that are more senior that are stable and things, then bring them into those conversations as well. Like work closely with them and see them as an extension of your brand, because recruiters are an extension of your employer brand, and who you choose to work with says a lot about like who how you value it because of the candidate experience. So I think it's just briefing, being really honest, taking on board feedback, because I think a lot of charities will be like, right, we've got 6 new roles to fill, we want them all appointed by August, and
we're just going to go for it.
And then it's like, okay, but how do your diaries actually look on a day-to-day basis? Because can you interview 6 roles, 4 to 5 candidates per role, 7 hours with the breaks in between? Those are full day working days. Can you give that all within a 2-week period? So 7 working days.
Honestly, probably never have I ever.
So it's kind of taking on board that feedback, being really transparent about your expectations and all of that.
Yeah, and I know like previously you've given me really helpful feedback on like job titles, like the contents of JDs as well. You're like, this is how I think this is going to land, like, which
also
has been so invaluable.
How it's set out.
Yeah.
Like all of those things matter.
Yeah. With that as well, like obviously for your internal reasons you might need to call a role a specific thing, whereas a recruiter might advertise it differently, and it's kind of having that trust in them. So we were given a really obscure title recently that we renamed, and I said to the manager, we're going to redo it, and they were like, okay, yeah, that's fine, that makes sense, because they'd been out twice with that job title and not appointed. So it's kind of like, listen to the expertise. That's our day job, it's our bread and butter.
That's exactly what we do in fundraising. We take what the programs say they want to do, And we're like, cool, nobody understands whatever it is you just said. So we're just going to make it sound like something that people want to fund, whatever that is. And a lot of times program teams will get very like, ooh, that's not what we do. And I'm like, I promise it's exactly what you do.
Yeah, it's just packaged up in a
It's just said differently. And they're like,
Well, this is why all my team are ex-fundraisers, right? Like all of them now, we're exclusively ex-fundraisers because
that's really special.
Yeah, and it's great. And because I always say, again, one of my standard sayings is you can't teach someone a moral compass, but you can teach them the recruitment process. And all of my people are very good, very passionate. They love the sector. They want to be in it. And they've worked in that environment, so they know the challenges.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm really lucky to have like two of my team. One's director level, one's been head of in an organisation, so they know what it's like at that. Two of them are trustees. You couldn't really get an agency that's more committed to the sector.
No, well, I even remember well, I was going to say, like, and I'm going to like set you up for like expectation here. I even remember when I got promoted at THT from like head of to AD, like Jake took me out for lunch. Yeah. Like, nothing like, clearly it was internal promotion, did not work with Jake, but he was like, let's celebrate you. Yeah. He was like, you got promotion, that's really exciting, let's go, like, let me take you out for lunch and celebrate it. And I think it's that kind of like mantra that's so important. Yeah.
Just your people, and it's exciting. Like I met with a couple of candidates in the last 2 weeks who are placed within one organisation. I just dropped the director an email. I was like, just so you know, both have fed back really positively about the culture. You're the director, so you've got other peers, but no one really understands your area. I know you don't hear these things that often, so you've done a great job. And I know that she'd been through a big change because they'd liked the old director as well, so it'd been a struggle. And to give that feedback is nice. And it's not necessary, but it
matters.
Yes.
It matters. So
yeah.
We've gotten to the moment.
Got the moment. So the question we ask everybody at the end of our chats is, if you could leave everyone with one kind of piece of advice, what would it be?
Yes. So one piece of advice would be to treat your recruiters as humans.
Oh, I love that. Just basic.
Isn't that just like the nature?
With feelings. We go home, we cry. Like, we get off the calls, we cry. Like, we are really excited when you get an offer. Just treat us like humans. That's all I can ask.
So good.
I love that. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation as much as we have. Please do like, subscribe and share. It really helps us reach even more people out in the sector. You can find us on Instagram at Raise Charity Pod and our website, which is thisisraise.co.uk. But for now, here's to raising money, voices and glasses.
Cheers. Thank you, Nick.
Oh, thank you. That was great. Thank you so much.